world doesn't fall apart, you do. And when that happens, the weak break. But the powerful rebuild. That's the brutal truth no one wants to face. Most people blame circumstances, the economy, betrayal, bad luck. But the truth is simpler. They were never in control of themselves. They thought they were masters of their world, yet their emotions owned them. Their anger, their fear, their desperation. These were their real rulers. You can't command the world until you can command your mind. And that's where most men fail. They spend years learning how to control their careers, their image, their relationships, but never their inner world. They build empires made of glass, impressive from the outside, but fragile where it matters most. When life strikes, they shatter. And no title, no money, no reputation can save a man who's lost control of himself. But there's another kind of man, the rare one. When the storm hits, he doesn't panic. He becomes calmer. While everyone else screams, he watches. While they react, he plans. His power doesn't depend on the situation. It flows from within. He's not calm because life is easy. He's calm because he's trained himself to be unshaken. This man understands what Machiavelli taught. Real control begins where emotion ends. Look around. The world is noise, chaos, distraction. People fight for control over everything. Money, influence, status. Yet in their obsession with power, they lose the only thing that truly matters. Self-command. You can conquer nations, dominate industries, or lead armies. But if you cannot rule your own impulses, you remain a servant. That's why the true Machiavellian doesn't just seek to win. He seeks to remain unbreakable. He studies his emotions like a scientist, not a victim. When everything burns, he doesn't ask, "Why me?" He asks, "What must I learn to never break again?" That's the moment power is born, not in the comfort of control, but in the collapse of illusion. If you can master your reactions when everything falls apart, no one can ever control you again. You become sovereign, untouchable, because you've built your empire where no one can reach it, your mind. This video is not for the comfortable or the weak. It's for those ready to reclaim inner power, to rebuild from ashes, not emotions. Because when the world burns, most will run, but the few, the Machiavellian few, will rise, calm and calculating, rebuilding with precision while others crumble in chaos. In the next moments, you'll learn the 12 Machiavellian laws that will help you rebuild your inner fortress, one mindset at a time. Each law will strip away weakness, emotion, and noise, until nothing remains but control, clarity, and command. Like this video if you're ready to become that rare individual who never breaks. Comment below, "I control my mind," because that's where your power begins and where the world finally bends to your will. You felt it. That moment when everything you built starts to crumble. The message that never came, the betrayal you didn't see coming, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers. One by one, the foundations you thought were solid begin to collapse, and suddenly, the man who thought he was in control realizes he never truly was. That's the silent tragedy of modern life. We live in constant chaos, pretending it's order. Look around. The world is an arena of betrayal, failure, and illusion. People turn on you for status, money, attention. Plans fail without warning. Relationships break without closure. You're left alone in the wreckage, questioning your worth, doubting your instincts, drowning in emotion. You try to stay calm, but your mind becomes your enemy. Every thought attacks you. Every memory reopens the wound. You react, you chase, you beg for control. And in doing so, you lose it completely. That's how most men fall. Not from external defeat, but internal collapse. They don't lose because life is unfair. They lose because they react. A man who cannot control his reactions cannot command his destiny. He becomes a slave to emotion. Anger when rejected, panic when uncertain, desperation when ignored. And in those moments of weakness, he hands over his power to the very world he's trying to dominate. Machiavelli said it best. The prince who cannot control himself is already ruled by others. The truth is, power begins and ends in the mind. The man who masters his inner world commands his external one. The man who doesn't becomes a pawn in someone else's game. Control is not about suppression. It's not about pretending emotions don't exist. It's about strategic regulation, the art of mastering your impulses so they serve you, not destroy you. You've been there, staring at your phone waiting for a message that never arrives, replaying conversations you should have ended differently, losing sleep over people who have already moved on. That's not weakness, and that's humanity. But here's the harsh truth. If you don't learn to command your emotional storms, they will command you. But the truth is, your power was never lost. It was only buried beneath emotion, beneath the noise of reaction and regret. And now it's time to dig it out, to reclaim what was always yours, your inner sovereignty. Because once you learn to control your mind when everything falls apart, nothing outside of you can ever break you again. Law 1. Command the chaos within. Chaos is not your enemy, it's your training ground. Every day life throws storms at you. Betrayal, uncertainty, loss, failure. Most people panic, resist, and curse the chaos, thinking control means making everything perfect. But that's not control, and that's delusion. Real power isn't about silencing the storm, it's about mastering your posture within it. You can't command the world to stay calm. You can't order people to stay loyal or events to unfold your way. The only command you truly have is over yourself. That's the essence of Machiavellian power, ruling the only kingdom that can never be taken from you. Your mind. When you control your internal reactions, you become untouchable. Because chaos loses its grip on a man who doesn't flinch. Look at the greats. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote his meditations not in peace, but in war, surrounded by betrayal and uncertainty. Yet he remained composed, calm, deliberate. Why? Because he understood that chaos was not punishment, but a proving ground for his discipline. Or take Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for decades, humiliated, stripped of everything. Yet when he walked out, he spoke not with bitterness, but clarity. That is inner command. That is power built in the fire of chaos. The weak react, the strong observe. That's your first law. Observe emotion, but don't drown in it. When you feel rage rising, don't suppress it. Watch it. Detach from it like a strategist studying the battlefield. The moment you become the observer, you stop being the victim. Your emotions become data, not chains. Start small. Practice detachment during daily stress, traffic, arguments, insults. When you're tempted to lash out, slow your breathing. When you want to respond instantly, pause. When you're angry, speak slowly. Because when you control your speech, you control the outcome. That pause between emotion and reaction is where kings are made. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He knew that calmness was not a virtue. It was a weapon. The man who appears calm when others are losing control becomes the anchor in the storm. People instinctively defer to him. They obey his frame. They trust his judgment, not because he's always right, but because he's unshaken. Calmness projects dominance. It signals mastery. And in a chaotic world, composure is power. So when chaos rises, do not fight it. Command it. Stand still while others tremble. Watch while others react. Let the storm reveal who's in control, and let that be you. Like this video if you refuse to be ruled by emotion. Comment below. I command the chaos. Because the first law of power is simple. The world obeys the man who obeys himself. Law 2. Turn pain into power. Pain is the raw material of strength. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding it, numbing it with distractions, running from responsibility, or pretending it doesn't exist. But those who seek power understand a different truth. Pain is not punishment, it's instruction. Every wound, every loss, every betrayal carries information about who you are and what you're capable of becoming. The weak avoid it. The powerful refine it. Every man who has ever built something great has faced a breaking point, the moment when everything seemed lost, when betrayal, failure, or humiliation tore him apart. But instead of collapsing, he studied his suffering. He dissected it, learned from it, and used it as fuel. That's the Machiavellian secret. Pain is energy. You can waste it by complaining, or you can convert it into strategy. Think of the men who rose from ruin. Steve Jobs, betrayed by his own company, exiled, humiliated, used that pain to sharpen his vision and return more powerful than ever. Elon Musk, ridiculed, bankrupt, doubted, turned public failure into proof of endurance. Even ancient rulers understood this principle. When Julius Caesar was captured by pirates, he didn't beg for mercy. He laughed, promised revenge, and later hunted them down himself. Pain didn't destroy him. It forged his resolve. You see, pain itself doesn't weaken you. Your reaction to it does. Most men feel pain and collapse into emotion. Anger, regret, victimhood. But the Machiavellian man turns pain into data. He journals it, studies it, and extracts patterns. Why did this happen? What did I miss? What weakness did this reveal? Every answer strengthens him. Every scar becomes a strategy. Start this practice today. When something hurts, don't suppress it. Study it. Open a journal, strip emotion away, and record what happened. Write like a strategist, not a victim. Over time, you'll see your emotional patterns, your triggers, fears, insecurities, and you'll begin to master them. Pain, once understood, loses its control over you. And here's the Machiavellian twist. When you learn to turn pain into power, you become unpredictable. People can't manipulate you through emotion anymore. Betrayal no longer breaks you. It educates you. Loss no longer defines you. It refines you. The more life tries to hurt you, the more dangerous you become, because pain becomes your teacher, not your master. Don't escape pain. Study it. Every wound is a map to dominance. Like this video if you've turned your pain into progress. Comment below, I refine my pain. Because power isn't born from comfort, it's born from the fire you refuse to run from. Law 3. Starve emotional impulses. Every emotional reaction feeds your weakness. Every time you respond out of anger, panic, or fear, you hand your power to the very thing you wish to control. The world doesn't conquer you by force. It conquers you by provoking you. And the man who reacts loses. That's why true power begins with one principle. Starve your emotional impulses. Machiavelli warned, a man who cannot govern his passions cannot govern men. Emotion is the enemy of strategy. When you react, you reveal your position, your fears, your insecurities, your limits. But when you stay still, silent, and unreadable, you control the frame. Your calmness becomes a weapon. Others guess, project, and crumble under their own assumptions while you remain the quiet architect of every outcome. History is full of powerful men who destroyed themselves because they couldn't master their emotions. Kings lost kingdoms, generals lost wars, and leaders lost respect. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because they let impulse overrule strategy. Alexander the Great, one of history's most brilliant conquerors, murdered his closest friend in a fit of rage. That single moment haunted his legacy. Napoleon's arrogance blinded him to reality, pushing him into ruin. Emotion doesn't just weaken judgment, it distorts it. Now think about your own life. How many times have you sent a message you regretted, said words that burned bridges, reacted instantly and felt weaker afterward? That's the cost of emotional impulse. Momentary satisfaction, followed by long-term loss. The powerful man learns to delay reaction. He rewires his instincts to pause before he responds. Here's your daily application. When something triggers you, betrayal, disrespect, rejection, wait 24 hours. Don't text, don't argue, don't explain. Just observe. Let silence do the talking. In that time, emotion fades and logic returns. What once felt urgent will now feel trivial. And when you finally act, your decision will carry weight, not emotion. Silence is your first weapon. It confuses the emotional and empowers the strategic. People expect immediate reaction. When they don't get it, they lose control. You, on the other hand, become untouchable. Your restraint creates fear. Your calmness creates respect. That's the paradox of control. The less you react, the more power you command. So from now on, starve your impulses. Let others drown in their reactions while you sit in stillness calculating. Because every second you delay your emotion, your mind sharpens. And every word you don't say becomes a tool of power, like this video if you refuse to react. Comment below. I master my silence. Because the man who governs himself commands everything around him. Law 4. See reality as it is, not as you wish. Emotional control begins with clarity, and clarity begins with brutal honesty. Most people don't suffer because of what happens to them. They suffer because they refuse to see it for what it is. They create comforting illusions, And when those illusions shatter, they call it pain. But pain doesn't come from reality. It comes from denying it. The Machiavellian mind operates differently. It doesn't dream, it dissects. It doesn't hope, it observes. It looks at life through cold, unfiltered truth. Because truth, no matter how harsh, gives you power, illusion takes it away. Every failure, every betrayal, every loss is neutral information until emotion distorts it. The moment you attach feelings to facts, your perception becomes your prison. Look at how the powerful survive where others collapse. The intelligent investor doesn't cling to a losing trade. He cuts it instantly. The emotional dreamer, however, holds on, hoping it will turn around. Hope blinds him. Denial destroys him. The same pattern plays out in relationships, careers, and life itself. People stay loyal to fantasies long after the facts have spoken. They stay in dying situations because accepting truth feels like death. But the Machiavellian knows illusion is the real death. Truth is rebirth. Machiavelli himself understood that a ruler's downfall begins when he confuses how things are with how he wants them to be. He wrote, "The man who builds his world on imagination rather than reality builds on sand. The wise see clearly, even when it hurts. The emotional see comfort and pay the price later." Here's your application. Detach emotion from observation. The next time something goes wrong, a deal fails, someone betrays you, a plan crumbles, analyze it as if it happened to someone else. Step out of your identity. Ask yourself, if a friend told me this story, what would I tell him to do? That mental distance transforms chaos into clarity. Emotion clouds judgment. Detachment sharpens it. Practice this habit daily. When you catch yourself reacting, pause and describe the situation in simple facts. No interpretation, no story, no emotion. This happened. This person acted this way. This is what it means. The colder your analysis, the more control you gain, because clarity is command and illusion is slavery. So train your mind to see the world not as you wish, but as it is. Don't let comfort cloud your judgment. Don't let emotion paint over reality. The one who sees clearly will always outmaneuver those who feel deeply. Like this video if you choose clarity over comfort. Comment below, "I see reality clearly." Because only when you strip away illusion can you build a world that obeys you. Law 5. Build emotional armor. Daily power isn't built in comfort, it's forged in discomfort. Most people wait until disaster strikes to practice control. They react to chaos when it's already too late. But the Machiavellian man doesn't wait for the storm. He trains in the rain. He builds emotional armor daily so that when life attacks, he doesn't flinch. You can't expect to stay calm under pressure if you've only trained in peace. Just as a soldier drills before war, you must condition your emotions before chaos comes. Every day is an opportunity to strengthen your mental defense, to harden your nerves and sharpen your composure. Because emotional control is not a mindset, it's a muscle. If you don't train it, it weakens. Look at the strongest individuals. They deliberately seek discomfort. They expose themselves to stress on purpose, not for punishment, but for preparation. Marcus Aurelius faced loss, betrayal, and war, yet his discipline began with small daily acts of endurance. Modern warriors of the mind do the same. Cold showers to build willpower, meditation to train stillness, journaling to process chaos logically. Each act teaches your nervous system one command: stay calm when others panic. When you practice discomfort intentionally, your body learns that pain doesn't equal danger. You rewire your system to remain composed under tension. Cold water, silence, fasting, physical exertion. These are not trends. They're training grounds for self-command. Every time you resist the urge to complain, to react, to run, you add another layer to your armor. Here's your daily application. Choose one form of deliberate discomfort and commit to it. Take a cold shower without flinching. Sit in meditation when your mind screams to move. Delay gratification. Say no when every part of you wants yes. These micro battles create macro discipline. Over time, your emotions will learn one rule. They obey the mind that trains them. When others are ruled by their reactions, You'll remain composed, not because you're emotionless, but because you've practiced power. You've built immunity to chaos. People will notice your calmness, your steadiness, your refusal to break. That's when your influence multiplies, because nothing commands respect more than composure under fire. The weak pray for peace, the strong train for war. Build your emotional armor before you need it, because when the world tests you, and it will, you won't need to find control. You'll already embody it. Your emotions obey the mind that trains them. Discipline your response, or be ruled by chaos. Like this video if you're building your emotional armor. Comment below. I train my control, because mastery isn't built in comfort, it's built in the fire of daily discipline. Law 6. Detach from external validation. Most men live their lives chasing approval, likes, compliments, recognition. Every decision becomes a reaction to what others think. Every emotion bends toward someone else's judgment. That's how control is lost. Dependence on validation is the silent enemy of power. The moment you need to be liked, you become vulnerable. You are no longer the master of your mind. You are a servant to the perceptions of others. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. Power dies when you need to be loved. History is full of leaders who fell because they tried to please everyone. Kings weakened their commands to avoid dissent. Generals hesitated because they feared criticism. The truth is brutal. The world rarely rewards the likable. It rewards the effective, the strategic, the unshaken. Dependence on applause is the first step toward emotional chaos. Look at leaders who ignored public opinion yet achieved greatness. Winston Churchill faced relentless criticism during the war, yet he remained unwavering. Abraham Lincoln endured relentless public scrutiny, but followed principles over popularity. They weren't cruel or careless, they were detached. Their focus wasn't on being liked, it was on being right. On executing their vision, on maintaining internal sovereignty. That is the mark of true command. Here's your application. Measure success by your own standards, not by applause. Stop seeking approval for every choice. Pause before you act. Ask, am I doing this for me or for them? When your decisions are anchored in self-respect, strategy, and principle, you become untouchable. Public criticism no longer destabilizes you. Praise no longer inflates you. Your internal compass becomes your only guide, and it is unbreakable. Start small. Observe how often your emotions shift based on what someone else says or does. Every compliment that dictates your mood, every insult that shakes you, these are chains. Practice detachment. Respond to criticism as data, not a threat. Celebrate victories internally, not publicly. Build an unshakable sense of self that no external force can manipulate. The Machiavellian twist. The less you seek validation, the more authority you command. Others sense your independence and gravitate toward your frame. They follow not because they like you, but because they recognize strength. Approval becomes irrelevant, influence becomes inevitable, and your mind becomes a fortress no one can breach. Like this video if you refuse to bend for approval. Comment below. I answer only to myself. Because control is never given by others, it is claimed from within. Law 7. Master the power of stillness. When the world burns around you, instinct tells most men to act. Immediately, frantically, emotionally. They panic, they speak too soon, they make decisions in chaos, and chaos wins. But the Machiavellian man knows a brutal truth. Movement without strategy is surrender. Stillness is power. Stillness is control. Stillness is dominance. History proves it. Generals who paused before striking won wars. CEOs who observed the market in silence made decisions that crushed competitors. The world rewards those who resist impulsive action and wait for the perfect moment. Napoleon did not rush into every battle. He studied, calculated, and struck with precision. Sun Tzu called it knowing when to act and when to wait. Stillness is a weapon. It disorients your opponent, sharpens your mind, and ensures your response carries maximum impact. Machiavelli emphasized patience as psychological warfare. When you do not react immediately, others assume you have a strategy far beyond their comprehension. Your calm creates unease. Your silence breeds doubt. People reveal their plans while you observe. They make mistakes while you calculate. The world moves impulsively, you move with purpose. That is the essence of mastery. Patience enforced as power. Here's how to apply it. Practice still decisions. When confronted with conflict, betrayal, or crisis, pause. Do not speak. Do not act. Observe. Let emotion pass. Let information emerge. Only then strike. Not because you feel it is urgent, but because strategy demands it. The less you act on impulse, the more every action carries authority. Your timing becomes precise. Your influence becomes invisible yet undeniable. Stillness is not laziness. It is preparation. It is the controlled suspension of chaos within so that your decisions are surgical, not scattershot. Begin with small exercises. In meetings, listen twice as much as you speak. In arguments, respond after a pause, not immediately. In stress, breathe, observe, and decide deliberately. These habits train your mind to wield stillness as armor, shield, and sword. The Machiavellian advantage is clear. The world rushes, reacts, and panics. You stand unmoved, calculating. The storm does not touch you. It only passes around you. And when you finally move, your action is unstoppable, inevitable, dominant. Like this video if you choose stillness over chaos. Comment below. I strike with patience, because the man who masters stillness controls not only his fate, but everyone who moves around him. 08. Speak less. Control more words or weapons, and every time you speak impulsively, you hand that weapon to someone else. Most men chatter, justify, explain, and beg for understanding, never realizing that emotion thrives on words. Anger escalates when you argue. Panic grows when you justify. Fear spreads when you over-explain. Silence, on the other hand, unsettles chaos and creates invisible authority. The Machiavellian mind knows that restraint in speech is not weakness, it is leverage. Look at history's most commanding figures. Negotiators who sealed million-dollar deals often said very little, letting the other side reveal their position and make errors. Machiavellian rulers like Augustus or Catherine the Great rarely explained themselves. They observed, remained quiet, and let uncertainty do their work. Silence is a tool that provokes assumptions, exposes lies, and magnifies your presence without effort. Those who over-explain lose control. Those who speak sparingly dominate every interaction. Here's your application. Speak only to direct, never to explain. Give instructions, not excuses. Issue commands, not justifications. Respond with precision, not paragraphs. Every word you release should serve a purpose, to guide, to redirect, to assert control. If you feel the urge to clarify, pause. Ask yourself, does this build authority or does it feed chaos? If it feeds chaos, do not speak. Silence also sharpens perception. By listening, you gather information others overlook. You detect lies, weaknesses, and desires. Every unguarded word from someone else is a gift, and you harvest it in stillness. The one who speaks less controls the tone. The one who listens rules the room. That is the essence of psychological dominance. Your restraint becomes their vulnerability. Practice this today. In every conversation, resist the urge to fill gaps. Observe, speak with intent. Let pauses carry weight. Over time, people will follow your lead without realizing why. The less you explain, the more control you command. Words are fleeting, but silence is a fortress. And a fortress cannot be overrun. Like this video if you're ready to rule with silence. Comment below. I speak to command, because mastery isn't in talking. It's in controlling the room before a single word is spoken. Law 9. Control the frame, not the fight. Most men lose battles before they even begin because they react inside someone else's frame. An insult, a criticism, a provocation. They see it as a fight and dive in, fueled by emotion. That is how control is lost. Emotional wars are not won by aggression or volume. They are won by perception. The moment you define the context, you command the outcome. Control the frame, and the fight bends to your will. History and modern power alike prove this principle. Leaders who reframed attacks into opportunities gained loyalty, respect, and influence. Winston Churchill turned scorn into defiance, projecting strength while enemies fumed. CEOs facing public backlash often transform criticism into strategic advantage, appearing untouchable while rivals scramble. When you dictate the lens through which a situation is viewed, you force others to play by your rules, not theirs. Here's your application. Redefine every scenario through your lens. When someone insults you, don't react emotionally. Instead, interpret it strategically. This reveals their weakness, not mine. When criticism hits, use it to strengthen your positioning. Never accept the narrative imposed by others. If someone tries to bait you, step outside the frame entirely. Respond calmly, redirect subtly, or stay silent. The world will bend to your perspective because perception drives behavior. Every conflict presents two choices: fight inside their chaos or dictate the context. The first choice drains you, fuels opponents, and exposes vulnerability. The second choice empowers you, unsettles adversaries, and amplifies influence. Control the frame and suddenly, what seemed like a confrontation becomes a display of mastery. You dictate timing, tone, and direction. Others react, you lead. Practice this daily. In arguments, meetings, or social exchanges, pause before reacting. Ask, am I stepping into their frame or creating mine? Shift perspective consciously. Train your mind to define outcomes before the fight begins. The more you practice, the more instinctive it becomes to dominate. You must first control the lens through which reality is seen. Like this video if you refuse to fight in someone else's frame. Comment below. I control the frame, because true power isn't in winning arguments, it's in making others play on your terms. LR 10. Use logic to govern emotion. Emotion screams. Logic commands. When fear rises, anger flares, or doubt creeps in, most men act impulsively, handing control to their feelings. The Machiavellian understands that power begins where emotion ends. Chaos cannot break a mind governed by reason. Logic transforms reaction into strategy, impulsivity into mastery, and fear into action. Look at military history. Generals under the most extreme pressure did not rely on gut instinct alone. They followed systems, protocols, and calculated plans. During the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon's commanders adhered to structured commands despite the chaos surrounding them. The field could burn, the enemy could advance, yet decisions guided by logic prevailed. In contrast, units that acted purely on emotion crumbled, creating disasters from fear and panic. Your life is no different. Emotional responses dictate mistakes, yelling when you should negotiate, panicking when you should plan, retreating when you should act. Logic removes the chaos from your mind. It allows you to observe first, act second. Replace I feel with I observe. Transform heated reactions into calculated responses. Turn disappointment into data, betrayal into insight, conflict into leverage. Here's your daily practice. When confronted with stress, pause. Label what is happening in neutral terms. This occurred. This is my assessment. This is my choice. Avoid emotionally loaded language. Structure your thoughts as a strategist, not a victim. Over time, your instinct will shift. Where others panic, you evaluate. Where others react, you calculate. Machiavelli knew that rulers are not defined by strength alone. They are defined by their ability to control their own impulses. A prince who acts emotionally is already a slave to circumstance, but a man who applies reason as his guide creates freedom, power, and influence that no external chaos can diminish. The command is clear. Train your mind to govern emotion with logic. Speak deliberately, act strategically, and observe unemotionally. Let others scream and flail while you maneuver. Your calm clarity will intimidate, influence, and dominate. Like this video if you choose strategy over emotion. Comment below, I act with logic, because true mastery is not the absence of feeling. It is the dominance of reason over impulse. Law 11, create a mental fortress. True power begins within. No wealth, influence, or army can substitute for an unshakable mind. The Machiavellian builds a mental fortress, a citadel no external event can breach. While others crumble under stress, betrayal, or failure, the man with a fortified mind remains calm, decisive, and untouchable. This is not a metaphor. It is deliberate construction, brick by brick, thought by thought. Visualize your mind as a castle. Each thought is a guard at the gate. Doubt is intercepted before it enters. Anger is examined, contained, and either redirected or dismissed. Fear is studied, transformed into insight, and never allowed to dominate. Each day, reinforce your walls, meditate to sharpen focus, plan to clarify direction, and audit yourself to detect weaknesses. Your mind becomes a fortress. No storm can penetrate it, no enemy can unsettle it. History proves this principle. Marcus Aurelius faced political intrigue and war, yet maintained composure through reflection and discipline. Modern leaders like Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett act from calm, strategic clarity, detached from chaos while others panic. Internal stability transforms external uncertainty into opportunity. The fortress mindset is your ultimate advantage. When your mind is immovable, the world bends to your will. Here's your application. Create daily rituals to strengthen your mental walls. Begin with meditation to center your thoughts, followed by a strategic planning session to map priorities. Conduct a self-audit. Identify distractions, emotional triggers, and weaknesses. Visualize challenges as gates to be defended, not threats to overwhelm. Over time, reactive impulses are replaced by calculated command, and uncertainty becomes a tool rather than a threat. Remember this Machiavellian truth: if your mind is unshakable, no kingdom can defeat you. The stronger your inner fortress, the less the world can touch you. Composure becomes authority, patience becomes dominance, and perception becomes power. Like this video if you're building your mental fortress. Comment below, "My mind is unshakable," because external chaos only controls the mind that allows it. Law 12, become the eye of the storm. The final law of mastery is simple, yet devastatingly effective. Be the eye of the storm. While the world around you descends into chaos, panic, and reaction, you remain calm, focused, and unshakable. The weak are tossed by every event, every insult, every setback. The powerful, they move through the same storm untouched, because their center is immovable. This is the pinnacle of Machiavellian control. Not the absence of emotion, but precision in emotion. Look at the examples in history and modern life. Pilots land planes in emergency situations, surgeons operate under life and death pressure, and kings navigate political collapse. Their secret isn't superhuman courage and its control. They regulate their breathing, slow their thoughts, and observe the situation with absolute clarity. By doing so, they see opportunities where others see only chaos. They act decisively while the world panics. Their calm becomes their power. Machiavelli knew that perception shapes reality. A ruler who appears unshaken commands obedience. A leader who panics invites rebellion. Emotional mastery is your ultimate weapon. It is not about becoming numb or disconnected. It is about controlling your internal state to act with precision when everyone else is blind to reason. Chaos cannot dominate a mind that refuses to be swept away. Here's your application. When turmoil strikes, consciously slow your heartbeat. Take deliberate breaths. Observe the unfolding events without immediate reaction. Treat your mind like the calm center of a hurricane, a fixed point from which all decisions radiate. Let others be carried by the winds of emotion while you navigate with strategy, clarity, and authority. Practice this daily. In stressful conversations, tense negotiations, or high-pressure situations, pause. Feel the adrenaline, acknowledge the chaos, and then ground yourself. Your stillness is contagious. It unsettles the reactive, it commands attention, and it signals dominance. The more you embody the eye of the storm, the more power you project effortlessly. Like this video if you're ready to be unshakable. Comment below, "I am the eye of the storm." Because ultimate mastery is not in controlling the world, it's in remaining unbroken while the world loses itself. When everything falls apart, most men scream. They lash out. They panic. They beg for answers that will never come. Chaos consumes them, and their power disappears. Not because it is gone, but because they handed it away the moment they allowed emotion to dictate action. The truth is simple. Power isn't lost in chaos, it is revealed. The weak break, the reactive crumble, the distracted fade. The powerful, they plan, they observe, they dominate. They are not slaves to circumstance. They are rulers of self. Over the course of this guide, you've learned 12 Machiavellian laws of inner power. You began by commanding chaos within, transforming emotional storms into observed data. You turned pain into power, seeing every wound as a roadmap to dominance. You starved emotional impulses, delayed reaction, and let silence speak louder than words. You saw reality as it is, detached from comforting illusions. You built emotional armor daily, forged a fortress of resilience, and detached from external validation. You mastered stillness, spoke with precision, controlled the frame, governed emotion with logic, fortified your mind, and ultimately became the eye of the storm. Each law is a step, each principle a brick in the inner citadel that cannot be breached. This is your transformation. From an emotional slave, reactive, anxious and vulnerable, to a psychological ruler who navigates life with clarity, authority, and unshakable calm. Most men will never reach this level. They will never pause, never observe, never wield chaos as a tool. But you now hold the blueprint. You now have the methods. You now know that mastery is earned, practiced, and maintained, not given, not hoped for, not borrowed. Stop letting the world dictate your reactions. Stop allowing others' chaos to infect your mind. Rebuild your calm. Rebuild your power. Every thought you control, every impulse you master, every action taken with strategy strengthens the fortress within. The storm outside does not matter, because your center is immovable, precise, and deliberate. You're no longer a pawn of circumstance. You are the architect of influence. You are the commander of outcomes. Now is the time to act. If you are ready to claim the mental sovereignty you deserve, subscribe now. Embed these laws into your daily life. Practice them relentlessly. Make calm your default, strategy your instinct, and master your identity. Comment below. I am unshakable. Declare it, because words solidify intention. Let the world test you. Let chaos strike. It will not break you. It will reveal you. In a world of confusion, betrayal, and constant upheaval, calm is your greatest weapon. Silence, patience, observation, and precision are your allies. The weak will scream. The indecisive will panic. But the man who applies these 12 laws, he is untouchable, unstoppable, and undeniable. Your inner power has always been within you. Now it is awakened, sharpened, and ready to command reality itself.